Well. Welcome in, you weekend warriors. Happy freaking Saturday from coast to coast, from sea to shining sea. It's 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and you know what that means. It means that we're live, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I'm excited. Look, if you didn't know, I am 100% a steel snob. I am very open about this. I love diving down the rabbit hole that is knife steel chemistry. What does that mean for the end user? What does that mean for the person that puts it in their pocket, who uses the knife every single day? Or, you know, even for those who just flick it open a couple times before listing it on Reddit as never cut or carried. I'm not here to tell you what to do with the money that you have, that you spend on things like pocket knives, but I am here to discuss it because lately there have been a lot of people hitting me up saying, Rollshambo, what Magnacut this, Magnacut that. I hate it. It's overhyped. I love it. It's the best steel ever. It's great. It could make me smoothies on a Saturday and I'd be okay with that. People know that I have strong opinions, and so they like to talk to me about these things. I've made several videos, in fact, on Magnacut, and I let it go because I felt like I'd already played out the topic. You guys should know how I feel about Magnacut and why, but people still reach out to me regardless. So if you're looking at the title of this live stream, whether you're here with the live audience right now, or if you're watching the replay. By the way, shout out to those of you who watch the replay. Depending upon when you watch the replay, by the way, sometimes the live chat isn't available until 24 hours later. That is not a setting that I can change, okay? So for those of you who watch the replay, if you watch it 24 hours later, the live chat will be available. You just swipe over on the comment section. People ask me about that too. But anyways, I'm excited to talk about it because the topic has come up again. My buddy, Duty's Daggers, shout out to Kevin Duty's Daggers, recently did another video on Magnacut, and people are jumping on the topic like, yeah, Magnacut sucks. I'm sorry. It's not that serious. It's not that serious, guys. But his recent video has reignited many of the audience members that we share between channels. And so the topic has yet been foisted upon the channel and given me another opportunity to wax, hopefully eloquently, on the topic of Magnacut. Does it suck? Is it overhyped? Do we need to be making things like teacups out of it? I don't know. So we're going to get into it today, guys. Also, we're going to get into the Discord because I've made some important changes to the Discord, and there will be more important changes being made that will hopefully make the experience enjoyable for everybody and give everybody exactly what they want. I'm excited. We'll talk about that. But first, let's go ahead and say hi to people because we've got a lot to go over. I'm going to go ahead and just shoot down the list of channel members. Shout out to Blind Woo Fury. What's up, dude? What's up? Thanks for being a channel member. Welcome into Marco, another channel member in the house. Night Rayer in the house. What's up, dude? Bluetooth Blades, Ohio Lefty Knife Guy making an appearance. Good to see you. Welcome in Vavelsky. Jim Miller. Jim. We're going to pause in our greetings. Last live stream, I tried and failed epically to grant Jim a well-deserved wrench. I built computers for fun. I built the channel. I taught myself how to do camera stuff and all of this stuff. And yet I could not for the life of me figure out why I couldn't get Jim a wrench. And I knew the moment the live stream ended and I had a second to just like look at things, I knew I'd figure it out. And of course I did. Jim, thank you so much for riding with the channel for years. Jim has been here for years. Jim has been following the channel since before I even hit 1,000 subscribers. He's been in I think that he's been in every single live stream. He might have missed one or two due to natural disasters happening. But Jim, thank you for being a positive force in the community. Very well-deserved wrench. You are now a channel mod. Not that you need it to be respected, because you are respected across the platform. So thank you for all your support, Jim. And everybody, give Jim a warm welcome, the latest and greatest channel moderator. What's up, Jim? I always try, man. I always try. I don't always succeed, but I'll give it 150%. Let's go. Let's go. What's up? The Pawns in the house. Ed Durbin. Got more channel members piling in by the second. Jeremy Nidro, welcome in. Let's go. Gizmalian. What's up, man? What's up? Ian Coates in the house. Another channel mod. The Proctor of Chaos himself. Ian Coates, what's up? He says, something is funky with your music before the stream starts. It's like two songs start playing at the same time. Interesting. I'll have to watch back. I'll have to look back and watch for that. I may have been messing with background music or something, and maybe that was coming through. I don't know. I'll troubleshoot after. Nobody wants to see me troubleshoot on the live stream. It's not good television. But we will look into it. Thanks for looking out. Welcome into Cicero. Thanks for being a channel member. Ed B in the house. He says, is this the complaint department? Yes, and it is shaped cylindrically. Like a trash can. Is that smoke behind me? There might be. There might be. The trash can might be on fire. All right, Matt D, welcome in. We've got... And guys, I'm scrolling through. Right now I'm hitting the channel members because I want to get to the topic. But for everybody that's in here, welcome in. I'm super stoked to get started on this. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. All right. I think I've caught up with saying hi. By the way, let your opinion be known. Very simply. Do you like Magnacut? Yes, no. The poll is in the chat. I should be pinned at the very top of the chat. So just go ahead and, give it a little tappy tap. Let me know your feelings. We'll check in on that here shortly. But anyways, guys, I might clip this for some content later. I'm going to make sure that the music isn't too loud. I'm going to drop it down a notch. The topic of Magnacut. Before we get into it, I want to preface with this. No steel sucks. Every steel is inherently different, and you get different properties out of each steel. So by itself, if you have a brick of 14C28N and a brick of M390, they're just steels and they have different properties. That's what they are. It takes the knife maker or the manufacturer to turn them into the things that we spend entirely too much money on and then put in our pockets. No steel sucks. They're just different. Now, that isn't to say that you can't get great knives made out of D2 tool steel, or that you can't get great knives made out of 8CR13 MOV. And it also doesn't mean that it doesn't matter what the steel is if it isn't heat treated properly. I think a lot of people have it wrong because they initially think, well, like if it's 58 HRC for this steel, or if it's 62 for this one, that's an indicator of it being properly heat treated. That's a fallacy, and it's one that's easy to buy into because we want an easy way to understand it. So whether or not we're talking about Magnacut at 60 Rockwell or Magnacut at 65, the one at 60 is not heat treated improperly. It is heat treated to a softer Rockwell hardness, and you get different benefits out of it everywhere along the spectrum. For all intents and purposes, a softer heat-treated Magnacut will have better corrosion resistance and better toughness. I want you to remember that second one because that second one is important. I'm not just going to monologue at you guys. I'm going to show you some stuff as well. A higher Rockwell hardness for Magnacut, you do lose some toughness and you do lose some corrosion resistance, but you gain a lot of wear resistance. Oftentimes, people mistake wear resistance and edge retention. Well, Rollshambo, aren't they the same thing? No, No, they aren't. Edge retention is kind of an all-encompassing term. How long is the edge on your knife going to last when you're cutting through material? How long is it going to stay sharp? Wear resistance is one of the biggest contributing factors to it, which is why steels like Maximate and Rex 121, who have insane levels of wear resistance, also have really good edge retention. However, you can lose an edge due to corrosion. You can lose an edge due to the edge folding over or bending or breaking, which is affected by toughness. So, when you think about edge retention, stop thinking of it in terms of wear resistance. Wear resistance plays a role, and it plays a big role, but it doesn't play the only role. And that's kind of where Magnacut really kind of wins my heart a little bit, because it achieves great edge retention, but not through wear resistance. The wear resistance on Magnacut is not, in fact, the greatest. Even at 65 Rockwell, you're still looking at wear resistance somewhere around the level of S45VN or LMAX. But it has an insanely good edge stability due to its high levels of toughness at lower edge angles. Now, shout out to Dr. Laren Thomas, who invented Magnacut, who patented it. I can't talk tonight. But also who has done a literal ton of research on it. He has a doctorate in metallurgy. The funny thing is that every time I mention him, there's always somebody in the back that screams, well, he's just biased towards his own steel. I don't know. Maybe Laren Thomas isn't selling steel. Companies are buying Magnacut from Niagara Specialty Metals. They're not buying it from Laren Thomas. He just developed it. He doesn't make it. But yet people still think that he's super biased. He's probably one of the least biased people towards his own steel. He's very open about its strengths and its weaknesses. It was developed to be a killer of crew wear, which is a steel that nobody complains about, and yet Magnacut improves on it. He succeeded in creating a steel that improves on crew wear. But nobody complains about crew wear. The things that make crew wear great are also the same things that make Magnacut great. And so I'm confused. I think what's happening is that we have a ton of people that are tired of seeing the same. They want something new. New is exciting. New makes us feel good, makes us feel warm and fuzzy inside. We get to see, for example, there's a lot of knives coming out these days, a lot more than there was last year or the year before, coming out in Vanax Super Clean, also a great steel. Not necessarily for its edge retention, believe it or not. But we get excited when we see that. So, when you see something so often you get tired of it, it becomes a lot easier to adopt an opinion of it's overplayed. It's played out. I'm tired of it. Magnacut doesn't have to be on every single knife. And I agree with that last part. But does Magnacut suck? My personal opinion is no. Magnacut does not suck. It is a great steel. That said, it does not belong on every single knife. It's going to work better with lower edge geometry. Now, you might be wondering, Rollshambo, what do you have to back up your opinion of Magnacut? Because I made a video, my most popular video to date, I want to say it's got like 60,000 views, is on Magnacut. So I've talked about this already, but I want to talk about another channel for a second. Shout out to Cedric and Ada, the Cedric and Ada channel. The guy that runs, his name is Pete. Now, Pete's channel, the premise of what he does is he does cut tests, a lot of them, with a ton of knives. He logs the data. You can find it. It's not something that he hoards for himself or for channel members. It is publicly available on a Google Doc. If you go to the description of any of his cut test videos, that log is available in the description of the videos. So, real quick, let's pop over to a screen share. There are factors involved with cut tests. One is that the edge geometry plays a role in how well a knife will retain an edge. The blade geometry plays a role in how well a knife will retain an edge. And then, of course, don't even get me started on the difference between a toothy or a polished edge. Things like edge angle, things like edge finish, things like the Rockwell hardness, they all play a role. It is very difficult to accurately and objectively compare knife steels because two different knives might have the same edge angle, but they might have different blade geometry. One might be heat treated higher, one might be heat treated lower. There's so many different factors involved. The easiest way to make this comparison is by using the data sheet that he's compiled. And I'm going to show you guys. I zoomed in on here, but I'm going to go ahead and just scroll over. He's got a section of this document, and you guys can all get this. Like, it's not just me. If you're ever interested, Spyderco makes a model called the Mule Team. Every time they come out with a knife with a new steel that they haven't done before, they'll make a Mule Team. The purpose of their Mule Team fixed blade is to make sure that they figure out the best way to heat treat that steel. It's going to have the same edge geometry, the same blade geometry. It's going to be heat treated by the same people from the same factory. This is about as close as you can get to a direct comparison that's actually fair. And so people might see me or hear me talk about comparing the Mule Team knives. This is what I'm talking about. Now, they don't do every single steel known to man on the Mule Teams, but they do quite a few. For example, Magnacut, LMAX, M390, M4, S90V, K390, ZDP 189. Before you look too far into that, if I was to say, well, which one's going to hold an edge better then? Magnacut or ZDP 189? Magnacut or K390? People love both of those steels for their high wear resistance. So they should wipe the floor with Magnacut, right? Wrong. Check this out. Magnacut beat all of those steels at 62 Rockwell in a cut test on sisal rope. The only steel it didn't beat was Magnacut. Magnacut, at least at the time that I created the copy of this sheet for my own purposes, Magnacut was the king. It had 1,187 cuts on this page. 1,187 cuts. Magnacut was the closest to it with 1,037. K390, 940, S110V. That S110V, guys, S110V is a steel used for industrial cutting purposes. And Magnacut wiped the floor with it by over what? 200 cuts, just about? Ridiculous. ZDP 189, 750. M390, for the longest time, touted as like the king of edge retention, but apparently not here. M390, 680 cuts. M398, 700. And here's the cool part is that they do tell you the Rockwell hardness of these knives. And it blows me away. So this is one example. However, there is more. So Magnacut just toasted most of its competition right here. And people ask, well, how is that possible? If it has the wear resistance, somewhere in the realm of D2 upwards of S45VN at the max, how is that possible, right? It comes down to the fact that edge retention is not obtained solely through wear resistance, especially when you're cutting something like rope. And I mention this because we don't all cut the same things. That is another factor involved. What are you cutting? If your daily cutting purposes is that you cut drywall all day long, or maybe you're just, you're cutting shipping labels all day long. You have to manually cut it because your office is cheap and doesn't have a label cutter. Everyone's use case is different. But in this test, it succeeded. Sisal rope is very tough on edges because it is extremely fibrous. Cardboard is one of those that's tough to gauge because not all cardboard is manufactured the same. Some is thicker, some is not, some is made out of different materials. Like some cardboard has silica pieces in it, which will dull the crap out of your knife right away. So it's hard. It's really hard to do fair comparisons, and what you might experience might be different than what the next guy experiences. But that's why everyone seems to have a different opinion. Regardless, this is one data sheet of cut tests by a man that does the same cut test for every single knife that he cut tests with. So it's relevant. Now, I am going to get to the chat because I'm going hard on this monologue, and I don't want to ignore people. Ian says, Roll gives Neves a run for his money with rants. Somebody gave me a platform. Who did that? Maybe it was me. Nick Travellini says, I rank lefty ahead of Neves. Kev can go for 30 minutes in a shot without breaking a sweat. I wanted to address this, guys, because people continue to come at me and say, well, did you see this? Magnacut does suck. Magnacut doesn't suck. You're going to get a wide variety of results based on the factors like edge retention. Excuse me. You're going to get a wide variety of results based on the Rockwell hardness. There we go. The blade geometry, the edge type, the things you typically cut. There's a ton of factors. So I can sit here and look at this data and nerd out and tell you guys all about, how great Magnacut is. But there is actually a wide variety that you're going to find. Now, if you go over here to cut tests, I've already filtered this. I also have Maximate up here. Magnacut has not always outperformed everything. And I'm going to kill my camera so you can actually see the full sheet here that I have filtered out. It's just showing Magnacut and Maximate knives. And after this, I'll get back to the regular guys. But I wanted to address it. Because a lot of people say, well, like, I heard so-and-so say that they just didn't think that most companies did it right. Or, you know what, this is this person's opinion, and I had this experience with this knife, so now I believe that the whole steel composition sucks. I wanted to show this because there is such a wide variety. You can have two different knives made by two different companies, both at the same Rockwell, and they can perform entirely differently. High Rockwell hardness does not indicate a proper heat treat. Low Rockwell hardness does not indicate an improper heat treat. They're just how hard the blade is. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that because they're on the hunt for easy answers. So check it out. Magnacut alone, here's the cut test data that we have from the Cedric and Ada data sheet. And I see results here as low as 180 cuts on a 20-degree edge on a knife from Creeley Blades called the Mako. That same knife looks like they went ahead and lowered the edge angle all the way to 15 degrees and then polished the edge. So they took it from this factory edge of 20 degrees, dropped it to 15 degrees per side, polished the edge bevel, and instead of 180 cuts, they got 925. That is massive. What is that? That's almost 1,000% performance increase? Bananas. But it just goes to show 20-degree factory edge angle, not that great. 15-degree polished edge angle, really good. Really, really good. And then, of course, if you go down here, you see all the Mule Team results as well. And they go anywhere from 750 all the way up to 1,550. And there's also Maximate on here. I just tossed on there for a quick comparison. But guys, if you want to see what people have done, get data sheets like this. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get back to the live stream. I think I've addressed it. Magnacut can be amazing. It doesn't need to be on every single knife. The lower the edge angle and the higher the polish on the edge bevel, the more performance you're going to get. So if you have a knife in Magnacut that's not performing that well as far as edge retention, my recommendation is sharpen the knife. Factory edge bevels are notorious for being really bad. They're done quickly, they're done very obtusely because they want a thick edge that's not going to chip immediately. If you have bad edge retention on any knife, made with any steel, try sharpening it first. It's not always the fault of the steel. Sometimes the geometry plays a role, and especially since a lot of these companies are doing belt ground edges, and you get blade burn. That also does not help with edge retention either. So, does Magnacut suck in my opinion? No. Is it the best steel ever and it's the only steel everyone should ever use? No. Think about what you're using it for. Do you need the extra corrosion resistance? Are you going to lay the edge bevel back? Are you okay even doing that? Do you want a knife that has a ton of wear resistance and that's how it achieves its edge retention? Everyone says yes, and then they go to sharpen Rex 121 and there's... Can you? Yes, you can. Does everyone want to? No. It's okay to like different steels. It's okay. Like there's no one steel to rule them all. This isn't the Lord of the Rings. Anyways, I'm back at it, guys. We're going to get to the chat. Ian says he doesn't know 40 people are watching. Well, technically now it's 42. Welcome into Brown Sugar. Good to see you. Sharp Obsession, thank you for joining in as well. Thanks for being a channel member. He says, I think if we all left and came back in 10 minutes, he would still be going. I might clip this. Who knows? All right. He says, Ed, you might be right. He had the graphs ready to go. Of course I did. I scheduled these live streams. You guys knew what the title was ahead of time. I promised a channel member, shout out to B Devious, asked me in the Only Spartans Discord yesterday, said, would you approach this topic once again? Because I don't like Magnacut. And I said, yeah, I'll make it the topic of the next live stream. So people knew, you guys knew. You can't threaten me with a good time. If you ask me about knife steel composition, cut tests, and how they perform and how you extrapolate that data, like I will drown in that rabbit hole. So don't blame me. I'm just giving the people what they want. Anyways. Ian says, sell me on Nitro V-Roll. Honestly, I'd rather sell you on 14C. Renee says, I think it should just be properly heat treated. Here's the hard part. We just don't know. Like, we don't necessarily know because we're not breaking our knives to look at the grain structure. It's really hard to know if it's properly heat treated or not. Sharpening knives is one thing. You can tell a lot by how a knife sharpens. I mean, you'd have to own like 10 knives in the same steel to really get a feel for, how it's best heat treated and how you can tell when you go to use it. It's really difficult. Ian says, Roll, just cut to the hour of pocket checks. Man, Ian is just disappointed. Settle down. Grab a mezcal margarita. It'll be okay. All right. Jeremy Nidro says, I really like Maximate as well. Yeah, Maximate's an incredible steel. The hard part about Maximate and Rex 121 is they're extremely brittle. They're really easy to break. So if you go online, if you delve into the swamp that is Reddit, you will find multiple posts from people lamenting their broken Spydercos and Maximate. I've watched one break in person. So my thing about Maximate is just don't drop the knife on anything. I'm talking don't drop it on carpet. Don't drop it from a ladder. Don't drop it on rocks or on concrete. Just don't drop it. I don't know. There's a lot of reports of Maximate breaking from being dropped. Lone Star Cowboy, good to see you. He says, super slow Steve drama time. We're talking about Super Steel Steve. Is there more drama? I haven't heard anything. All right. Ian says, I had to throw together a pocket check to appease Roll. Did you? If it's not a land 910, I'm going to be disappointed. Tell you what, we'll go on over to the Discord. Guys, I made a few changes. So I am new to figuring out Discord because I've put all of my energy into figuring out how to do the channel and making content that people hopefully enjoy. And I've kind of just left Discord up to be this crazy random chaos chat. The problem is that it has themed channels, and when people do what they're supposed to do in a community and engage, the topics get buried under this wall of chat. We have seen a lot of people come into the Discord and then leave. And I think that the reason why that happens is because they're tired of seeing things get buried, or they look at it and they're like, look at this in-depth conversation that I don't know if I can just jump in and be a part of. And I think that that's something that kills it for a lot of people. Other people enjoy the chaos, and that's great. And we've got a great community over here in the Only Spartans Discord, but it's left me wondering, how can I improve the community experience? Because I am truly dedicated to building a great community here of people that can share their love for the same hobby and other hobbies as well. Only Spartans Discord is a good time. How do you get in it? You got to be a channel member. Oh, shucks. Must be super expensive, right? Nope. The barrier for entry is now as low as 99 cents. If you want to be a channel member, you have the opportunity to become a channel member, and that will give you access to the Only Spartans Discord, which looks a little bit like this. All right, guys. So what are the updates? I made it a community, which allows me to make certain channels within the Discord a forum type channel. So before, for example, in the knife yard sale, somebody would post a listing and then people would start commenting on it and would get buried, and you'd have to scroll up. The person would have to repost it, or I'd be left with the difficult decision of, should I delete all of this engagement? I don't want to do that. The great thing about forum posts is that you can have it both ways. You can have people actually comment and engage without burying the lead. Check this out. This is the new knife yard sale channel. And now you get to see a little snippet of whatever picture they posted. So for example, this one is the most recent one. This is from Gator Aaron. Shout out to Gator Aaron. He posted a Tissot PRC 200 for $200. Look at that. There it is. And now you have all the comments over here and the post is right here. It's just organized better. And I know some of you guys are in other Discords are like, wow, it really took Rollshambo a long time to figure this out. I don't know how other people set up their Discord. I only have time for this one. But this is a lot better than it was before, where it was basically a chat. Like, for example, this is the old knife yard sale. Where's the listing? Where's the listing? Bueller. Oh, is it somewhere? Oh, here it is. So yeah, certain channels are going to be forum style. Knife yard sale is one. Upcoming content sneak peeks, which channel members get via the Discord, is another one. I'm also setting this up. I'm going at it with a fervor. So this will be a much better community in a week than it was a week prior to now. So shout out to everybody who has been in it from the start with the Discord. It will continue to improve, and I will continue to make it a great place, a welcoming place for everybody who wants to be a part of a community. You can take your hat off in the Only Spartans Discord, but just the hat. We don't need to see your feet. Anyways, let's get to the pocket checks. I'm going to go ahead and scroll up to the start of today, and I think that's starting with this one. That's a cool one though. That's a Wee Roxy 3 from Grateful Dong. Very cool. I checked one of those out. I want to say it was a couple years ago. Great knife, designed by Todd Knife and Tool. Vavelsky, always great photos, always great knives. He's got a Spyderco Para 3. I think that's the 15V variant with the RG Custom Metalworks scales. Very nice. And then he's got the full titanium TRM Bulldog. Love it, man. Michael Sawyer, thanks for being a channel member. He says having an intro channel can be nice on Discord. I haven't really thought about that. I would have to look into that. A shout out to Adventure50, who's been a channel member for the last 4 months. He says, you have 11,000 subs. I have 1,100. Men of similar ilk. Hey, just keep at it. Just keep at it. And, you know, to any smaller channels out there who are climbing the mountain of channel growth and figuring out, how do I get there? Focus less on the numbers and focus more on the goal of improving your content with every upload. I think a lot of channels flatline and plateau because they just look at a subscriber count and they forget that what really matters is how many people watch your videos, and how many people watch your videos is often defined by how good the content is. So it's really difficult sometimes to look at, you know, the bigger channels and be like, well, they do this, why can't I do this? Comparison is a killer of joy in this hobby. Just focus on making the best content that you can and let everything else take care of itself. Whether you have 11 million subs, 11,000 subs, or 1,100 subs, you're still doing something that most people don't. And for that, a round of applause for you. Keep climbing the mountain, man. And thank you for riding with the channel for the last 4 months. All right, guys. I'm going to check out a few more of these pictures. That's a great shot. Yeah, I like that. I like knife photography, okay? People at the park think I'm weird. There I am with my camera and a pocket knife. What's he taking pictures of? Don't look at me. Don't look at me. All right. Fantastic shots. Love it. The Ponds, he's coming in with the 8010. He's got a... Wait, which one is that? I feel like I should know this one. Which one is this? Right here in the middle. That's an Olight Arkfeld. I think that's the Ultra. Or maybe that's the Pro. I think I have that one. Why am I blanking on this one? It always helps, guys, when you let me know what you're carrying. That helps me a great deal. Miranda, shout out to Rainey. Rainey's got the Jack Wolf knives. That is the Gunslinger. I believe that is the locking knife. There we go. We've got a, that's a RS Knifeworks model with Vosteed. What's it called? I forget. But I know that Rob Saniscalchi is the one that designed that knife. That's a cool knife. And then, of course, a microtech ultratech. Very nice. Vosteed Griffin. That's what it is. It's kind of funny. I'm like, guys, help me out. Let me know. And then people do, and I don't read it. Thanks, Rainey. Thank you. Vosteed Griffin. Jack Wolf Knives Sharpshooter. Okay, so it's not the locking one. Sharpshooter is the slip joint. Let's go Nick T. He's got the CKF Evo. Love the carbon fiber inlay. Evo 3.0. Craig Vincent. He's got the Cold Steel Mayhem. He's got a Spyderco lightweight Para 3 and Magnacut. He's got... we're going to have to zoom in on this. Hold on. We're... Is that a what Kershaw is that back there? I don't know. Chainsaw, he's got a Cold Steel Voyager. Very nice. Demco 80 20.5 Tanso. And a Tucson, which I would never, ever guess the model number of because I don't do model numbers for names. Gas Station Knives, he's got a knife that I also don't recognize. That looks pretty cool, though. Is that also a Tucson? Which knife is that? Ed Durbin, he's got an Oz Rosie, and of course the Microtech Anax clone, which he loves, and he says that it's great. I see him rock that knife a lot. And then of course the Tyrant, what is that? The Tyrant V3. It's a cool little EDC utility knife. Gizmalian, he's got the Geoknife Ethereal Cutter. Hey, I got one of those right here. Love it. The Ethereal Cutter, the Chris Reef Sebenza 31, Max Ace Helictus, the Wee Knives Winsome, and the Shudan, and the Concept Integro. Nice. Very nice carry. You know, this video that I did on this guy right here, the Geoknife Ethereal, it is generating some haters because I said it could be the steal of the year. People are like, no, it's not. I don't know who needs to hear this. Opinions can't be wrong. They're just opinions. I said it could be the steal of the year. I gave my reasoning for it. You don't find a whole lot of knives, new knives being released these days in titanium, M390, Damascus pivot collars for $125. That price is insane. It is insane. And when I ask people, well, you know, show me another knife that does that, like they show me something from Arcform, who is, you know, bankrupt, and the knives that they're selling are basically a fire sale. You can't compare the price on a brand new knife to the price of a knife from a company that just went out of business. It's not realistic. People are ridiculous though. Love the Geoknife Ethereal. Incredible value. Great quality. Warrior Guild, he's got the Wild Pig Hunter, board shorts and Crocs is the new look. Wilderness Living. That's a great looking fixed blade. That is a beautiful looking fixed blade. What a great shot too. I love the background there. You get a lot of texture. Big fan. He carries it on the hip as you should. And then of course he's got the Vosteed Akita and the Vosteed Hedgehog. A couple great little folders there as well. Two of my favorite recent Vosteed releases. Big Jim coming in hot with a DLC I almost said Para 3 because it rhymed. No, it's the Paramilitary 2. What's the steal? Magnacut, of course. Let's go. Ohio Lefty Knife Guy coming in hot with a... Is that a... Okay. It's not just me, right? That looks like the blade from a ProTech Godfather. All right, hold on. I'm going to show you guys what I mean. ProTech Godfather. I don't stay up to date with ballast songs, but okay, so that's the ProTech Godfather, right? Bayonet style blade. It's a Squid Industries. Is that the blade type? The bayonet? I haven't seen that before. That's really cool. Really cool. Ian did not carry the margarita though. For shame. He's got the Milwaukee Fastback. There you go, guys. That's carrying the right knife for the job. You could tell that Ian uses the crap out of that Milwaukee Fastback. And the fat Inksol Sharpie. And of course the margarita below it. Didn't carry the margarita. So disappointing. The Pons with the Kaiser Militao. Very nice. Dazed has, of course, he's got the Vosteed Hedgehog. And one of my favorite knives from last year. That's the Devo Knives Tallboy. Love it. Let's go. Ed B. He's got... Is that a Spyderco? Tenacious? Is that a Spyderco? No way. He says, does carrying it from the knife box to the table count? I think it's as good as we're going to get from Ed on Spydercos because he does not like Spydercos. Something about uninspired round holes. Oh, man. Did it pain you to take that photo? Did you was like, just put it back in the box? No more uninspired round holes. Jim Miller with a beautiful shot. Check that out. the MBK Old Guard, the Arcform Saber, and the J-Cal by Jason Grant. Sweet shot. Right on the water, on the stump. Beautiful. The Pond says it's a Squid ProTech. That makes sense now. That makes sense. Obviously, I'm not keeping my hand on my finger on the pulse with Balisongs, but I looked at that blade shape. I'm like, there's no way. That's got to be, that's the ProTech Godfather blade. That's really cool. Let's see. John Bon Joner, he's got, what is that? Gonna turn my head. What is that? I can't read it. I can't read it. Bluetooth blades with, he's got the Kickstop Redemption 229. He's got the Plague Doctor Spartan Harsey and an 8015. That's a solid carry right there. Rene Ramon coming in hot with his own Chavez Kickstop. Look at that. I love that carbon fiber. That looks great. Who does that? Who made that scale? It's got to be an aftermarket show side scale, right? And what is the knife next to it? It's the 229 Kickstop and the Keennison Fido, modded by Gecko Customs. Nice. There we go. All the answers were there. It's like he knew. He's like, Rollshambo's not going to get this. Custom thud studs added later. Custom thumb studs added, laser etching on the blade and milled scales. Beautiful shot. Every time I see a Redemption 229 Kickstop, I always feel bad about the fact that I sold mine. I love that knife. I let it go too quickly. Let's go. The Matt D, he's got an SPK Lumia Gen 3. He's got a Q3D Ryogen pen, the bandana from Pappy and Harriet's, and a trusty Zippo. Another guy who always takes impeccable pocket check shots. Look at that. Fantastic. Love it. Fred Deluxe says, you said I can take my hat off. Here's a prototype, the 1931 Leatherworks Concept Orlock. Wow. The Concept Orlock. I've never heard of that knife before. The 1931 Leatherworks Concept Orlock. Is that the name? Is that the name of the... That's got to be the name of the maker or the designer, right? 1931 Leatherworks Concept Orlock. I was going to say, that was not made in 1931. Sever 7 with the Chalks Flying Snow. I've never heard of that before. Never heard of that company. Very nice. He says, Fred says, here are two more custom knives, the David Wells, not sure what the name is, and the Mark Vulcan Wasp. Ooh, Vulcan custom knives. Let's see if I can. Nope. There we go. Vulcan Custom Knives makes some really cool stuff, and he prices his knives remarkably low. I asked him how he does it, and he says, because I'm not trying to make a ton of money. I'm just doing this because I enjoy it and I love it. I'm going to have to buy a Vulcan custom knife one of these days. I really like what he's been doing lately. Hold on. We're going to reset. I was too zoomed. All right. Here we go. Night Rare. He's got his own. That's the Spyderco Siren, right? He's got his own custom scales right there. Love it. Awesome. Glad to see that you're still enjoying it too. Boom. I love modifying Spydercos. Spydercos are some of my favorite knives because they are so easy to modify and there's a lot of options out there. Jim Cox with the Axial Alpine fixed blade, the Hogue Deca with the Applied Weapons Tech scales, and a Chinese pry bar. Solid, man. Super solid. I dig it. Fred says the concept Orlock is designed by someone who is very active on the YouTube scene and on these discords. He goes by 1931 Leatherworks. Okay, cool. I think Tactical Terry, Vulcan after Blade Texas, has just started increasing his prices just a little. Even if he look, the fact that Vulcan Custom Knives makes custom knives, I'll show you guys. Hold on. VulcanKnives.com. He's been doing some great work. Available knives. Let's see. Vulcan Hex Hawkbill. I know a lot of people are not the biggest fan of Hawksbill blades. $500 shipped. That is inexpensive for a custom knife. Here's another one. This one is more, oh, gosh, that's beautiful too. It's hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom in here so you guys can see it better. Like, these are really cool. Carbon fiber handle skills, titanium milling on the blade, like frag milling on the blade. That's cool. I know he doesn't make those pocket clips. Those are aftermarket pocket clips, but I could care less. If he, sources the pocket clips elsewhere. Everything else that makes a knife, he makes, and that's really cool. The Gridlock Warncliffe. Beautiful. Here's another one. This one, $400 shipped. Yeah. He's doing some cool stuff with fixed blades too. Look at that. Like, that's cool. That's really cool. I'm going to have to get my hands on some of his stuff. It's going to have to happen. Sometime this year, we're going to make it happen. I really got to check it out. I've only heard good things though. All right. And if you guys were wondering how the poll is going for Magnacut, I asked 52 minutes ago, do you like Magnacut? I didn't ask, is it the best steel? I didn't ask, does Magnacut suck? I just asked, do you like it? 74 votes are in as of 52 minutes ago. 88% says yes, 12% says no. I am not shocked. All right. Welcome into Waylon. Thank you for being a channel member. Definitely appreciate it. All right, guys. So we have officially got, oh, there he is, Dylan Mallory. What's up, Dylan? Speaking of knife designers, what's up, dude? Don't you have a new knife that's coming out? Hold on. Let's do this. All right. Yeah. All right. So here it is. The Spectra. That's what it is. The Spectra pre-order, guys. $175. That's not bad on the price. 3.4 inch blade, S35 VN, plain titanium handle measuring 4.25 inches. That's perfect for a handle scale size. At least for me. I know that if it's over 4 inches on the handle scale, I'll get a full grip, no problem. I've done those measurements before. Nice. $175. That's solid. All right. Why did it take me to Instagram? I'm just trying to check out the photos. That's cool. That's a good looking knife. Looks nice and sleek and slender. Once we sell out, production will start. Production time is usually 3 months. Not bad. There you go, guys. $175, titanium, S35 VN, deployment hole, 3D milled titanium pocket clip. Yeah. That looks solid, man. Good job. I like it. I do like it. Says, thank you for showing it. They're Instagram pictures. Just installed Afterpay, by the way. Honestly, for $175, like it's not like, you know what? Sezzle, Afterpay, all of that stuff makes sense when we're talking like super expensive knives. That Afterpay, like paying for on $175, that makes it super easy for people. I always notice when it comes to inventory for popular knives, they always sell out on the websites that have the easiest payment options available. White Mountain Knives, you know, they have PayPal, they have content creator discount codes. They always sell out of stuff first. Places like Knife Joy, you know, when a knife comes out and they allow Sezzle on it, they sell out super quickly. There are some knives that they don't allow Sezzle on, which I thought was kind of crazy and interesting, because they apparently they wanted to slow the speed at which they would sell out. I don't know. It's crazy. I had to pop my ears there. Fred says, about Vulcan knives, I was not complaining about the new price. It's well deserved. Magnacut and custom. Wish he did frame locks or liner locks, not too into bar locks. You know, it's an interesting choice doing bar locks. And I wondered that too. Like, why? There might be some difficulty when it comes to tuning a frame lock. There might be more involved. I don't know. But crossbar locks are good knife lock. If they're done correctly, they're a strong knife lock, and they are usually ambidextrous. You know, they're lefty friendly locks. And I think that that's cool because it's a very inclusive, strong, useful, easy to manipulate knife lock. So while I do prefer something that has a traditional style detent, like I'm with you there. Crossbar locks are growing on me a little bit. Good to see you, Days D. He says, are bestech Magnacut Chinese or USA? According to bestech, they are USA. If you're asking, like, is it a USA steel or is it Chinese, like a Chinese clone? Some people don't know this. Some Chinese companies have been known to copy knife steel composition and then just name it whatever they copied. And that can be really hard to detect, but oftentimes it can result in a lower or lesser quality steel. So Dazed is asking, is bestech Magnacut Chinese or USA? Bestech has recently started changing the name of Magnacut on their blades when they list it to M-Cut, and it was a whole thing. Bestech came out and publicly said, all we did was truncate the name. It is still Magnacut, which was originally forged by Crucible. So if you are to believe bestech, then it is, you know, a USA Magnacut. Can we prove it? I mean, I don't know how we could. I don't, because, you know, it's even if you were to look at the composition of the steel, if they're copying the knife steel composition, then all that would prove is that it's the composition for Magnacut, not that it's USA made Magnacut. So it's one of those things that's really difficult. For me, what it comes down to is, did they do it right? I don't have the time or the energy to hunt down the steel and try to find, you know, some trademark buried in the chemical composition of a knife steel. I don't have the time or energy for that. Some people care a lot, and I would care more if it was a steel that was improperly heat treated and it equated to a poor performing steel. But if it performs well and it was heat treated correctly and it works well on their knives, then I hate to say it, but who cares? Crucible is defunct. When we buy a knife that says M390 on it, we expect that blade steel to perform like M390. When we buy a blade steel with Magnacut, we expect it to perform like Magnacut. So it's really hard to determine if these Chinese companies are making their own steel with the identical composition, or if they are actually buying from, American warehouses, the American steel. And another point is, does it matter? Because Crucible is bankrupt. They were bought out. I forget the name of the company that bought them out. But also, M390, 20CV, CTS 204P. Identical compositions, 3 different companies made it. It's all the same steel. I rest my case. Fred says they no longer call it Magnacut, they just call it M-Cut. They claim that they just truncated the name and it's the same steel. I don't care. As long as it works good. That's what matters the most to me. Mallory says some other company, USA, I believe, is also using an M-Cut word. Yeah, Magnacut, Bestech has been doing that for a while though. I want to say last year I pointed it out that they had it listed as M-Cut on one of their knives last year. So this isn't a recent thing. Sever7 says call Crucible and ask them if they sell to Bestech. Would anyone answer the phone? But also, Crucible isn't really like selling to knife makers or knife companies. For example, the supplier is Niagara Specialty Metals. They buy up the stock. Then they do, what do they call it? What do they call it? A hot roll. They thin it out to thinner stock. So they buy the bars, right? They buy the ingots from Crucible, and then they hot roll it, cut it into thinner sheets of stock, and then that's what they sell. So these companies, they're not buying it directly from Crucible anyways. They're buying it from a distributor like Niagara Specialty Metals. Sever7 says Crucible still has some customer service open. I call them and ask questions sometimes. Julie is the secretary, sweet girl. Really? They've kept open the line of communications. That's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I don't think they would get it directly from Crucible either. Laid off Pete, good to see you, man. Welcome in. He says, I like Magnacut, but I also like steels that seem more specific to my task at hand or usage. Oh, absolutely. If I'm going fishing, I'm taking 14C or Vanac Super Clean all day. Two of the best steels that you could take fishing. Absolutely. Magnacut also wouldn't be a bad choice. M390 wouldn't be a bad choice. But if you want the most corrosion resistant steel, Vanac Super Clean is pretty high up there. That'd be a great one to take on a boat. Says Niagara rolls it. NJ Steel Baron would be a great U.S. supplier. Okay. Very nice. Okay. Well, let's see. Before we dig into it, just want to make sure I haven't missed any pocket checks. All right, cool. I don't think so. What else is new? We're going to get back to the screen share here in a second. Where should we window shop to? You know what we haven't done in a while? I'm not the biggest fan of their litigious actions, but they still do have a ton of knives, and they are still a leading retailer. Let's see what Blade HQ is up to. Why not? Oh, yeah. The Chavez Redemption Integral 229. Big, beefy, solid titanium. Damn. They also have the Chubb OTF. I've been kind of wanting one of these. $250 for a utility razor that shoots out the front. The Chubb. I suppose that's better than calling it the Chode. Just a little bit. I like the brush finish. That looks nice. And I know people that have these that really love them. I kind of want one. I know a lot of people like myself like don't prefer having the screws going through the clip. I don't think it's a huge deal. Most people prefer the blind screwed skull clip. The ones that I've been thinking of the most lately, though, have been these blue line or blue label liner lock versions. For some reason, I just have a feeling that this version would be really great. With the micarta, it's got LMAX steel. It's a liner lock, so you don't run into the issue that I always had, which was that you end up putting too much pressure on the frame lock without wanting to, and it messes with the action. $180. Micarta and LMAX. Chavez Blue Label Redemption 229. I kind of want one. I think that's actually a really good, really good line. Here we go. So the integrals, or the integrals, however you decide to say it, $375. Did they mill out holes in the back? They must have. $375. It ain't cheap. Chavez stuff has never been cheap, though. Good to see you, Drink Water. Welcome in. It says military 2 salt Magnacut, Little Native, and a McBee. Nice carry, man. You guys want to know what I carried today? I carried a couple knives. One of them I'm not going to show you because I'm in the middle of making content for it. The other one is this guy. The content is recorded. I just need to finish editing it, and then I will upload it, and it'll be live tomorrow on the Remet RT Agile. So keep your eyes peeled for this one. This one's a good one, guys. Love this knife. It's been getting a lot of pocket time recently. That's what I carried. Mallory says, the blue label is great. I had clip issues, though. That's a bummer. Clip issues always suck. Like, a bad pocket clip can really ruin a good knife. Am I wrong? Lone Star says, a balisong with a tough steel like Magnacut 14C28N or Nitro V is just a fancy tactical fingernail cleaner. What about AEBL? What about AEBL? Ed B says, we'll probably never see S90V again once the stocks are gone. That's not necessarily true, guys. Something that you have to keep in mind is that these companies can still make the steel in identical compositions, just like CTS 204P, which has the same identical composition as 20CV, which has the same identical composition as Bowler M390. That's the same steel made by 3 different companies, just called 3 different things, but it is ultimately the same steel. So does that mean that, you know, we're going to get Carpenter S90V? No. Carpenter would probably call it something else. Like Carpenter could call it Supercut, Carpenter Supercut, XYZ 10.5. And it could be the exact same thing as S90V, just with a different name. So oftentimes it's the name that's trademarked. For example, Magnacut. Laren Thomas was saying about one of the things that he was worried about was that Crucible would not sell the rights to all of their steel names. And so what would happen is you'd have a bunch of the same steel out there made by different companies named something that people don't understand. So there's no guarantee that S90V is just completely gone. It just might be called something else if it's made by a different company. All right. Drinkwater says, I want a Magnacut Cybertruck. Sharp angles. Sharp angles. Fred the Lug says, how about fishing with LC200? Oh, yeah. LC200N is great. It's actually extremely close to 14C28N. They're very close in how they perform. They both have extremely high toughness, extremely high corrosion resistance. They're two of the most corrosion resistant steels out there. Neither one of them are super high on wear resistance, so they don't hold edges the best, but they're easy to sharpen, and you can put them on like fish fillet knives and get some really great results. Laid Off Pete says, glad I could catch a bit of the show roll. Had family over and they all just left. Hey, welcome. Crack open a beer. Join us. Join us. We're talking. Michael Sawyer says, I bet Bowler would call it Uber cut. Isn't Bowler Swedish? Hold on. Where is Bowler located? Is it Germany? Why did I think it was Swedish? Bowler Engineering is in Herndon, Virginia. Not what I was looking for. Bowler Udaholm. It's Austrian. Okay. Yeah. Ubercut sounds right then. Why did I think it was... Oh, you know what? I'm getting it mixed up with Sandvik. Yeah. Sandvik is Swedish, right? Yeah. Okay. I rode the short bus today. Okay. Okay. Cat Scratch says Crucible sold the steel name copyright to a French company, Aristeel. That's the company I was thinking of. I thought Aristeel bought the whole plant in Syracuse, didn't they? I thought they bought the whole operation. Good to see you, Ace Palon. Says, been lurking, walking the dog as usual, carrying Magnacut today in anticipation of the video. You might have to watch the replay if you didn't catch the beginning. I went on probably what was a 10 to 20 minute long rant, and then people promptly started complaining about it in the chat. I don't know what people expect from me. You asked me to talk about a subject that's knife steel. I will talk about it ad nauseum. Says, I'm glad Roll didn't tell me I had to sell it. I like Magnacut. Magnacut is a great all-arounder type of steel, and I'll stand by that. Fred the Lug says, Crucible is in Syracuse? I thought just Niagara was in Syracuse. What? Crucible Industries. Yeah, Syracuse, New York. 575 State Fair Boulevard in Syracuse, New York is Crucible Industries. Glad I quoted that correctly. Hey, shout out to Ed B for the $5 super. He says, hey, Roll, can you give us your opinion on Magnacut? I hear it sucks. That's all. It's awful. S30V is the only steel you should ever buy. No. I'll give my truncated opinion for anybody who came in after the rant. Magnacut does not suck. Magnacut is a very good steel because it has a wide range of Rockwell hardness that it can be properly heat treated to. You can get properly heat treated Magnacut at 60. You can get properly heat treated Magnacut at 65. It gains its edge retention through toughness, which is one of those things that makes it a really cool steel, because edge retention gained through wear resistance makes the knife harder to sharpen, while edge retention gained through toughness and lower edge angle geometry makes it easier to sharpen while also holding an edge for longer. There it is. I tried to be as concise as I could on that one. Ed B, thank you so much for the $5 super.
Keep the change, you filthy animals. Keep the change, you filthy animals.
Twice, why not? I love that quote. Ace Palin says, is Magnacut better than raisins? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. A blade made of raisins? That would never cut. Come on. Lone Star says, sun is rising, heading to the airport soon, back to Berlin, the city with the soul of an automaton. Well, hey, safe flight, man. Hope it goes swimmingly for you. Michael Sawyer says, I voted that Magnacut was good despite owning 0 Magnacut knives. I think having Magnacut is better than not having Magnacut. That said, it's not the panacea hype daddies would have you believe. I don't know. I think that the data speaks for itself. I think that people that have experienced bad Magnacut or Magnacut that hasn't performed well for them, there's a lot of things that could be behind that. It's hard to say. I don't know what people are cutting with their knives. I don't know if they just left it up to the factory edge and then were disappointed when the factory edge wasn't that good. I don't know if the steel on their knife was properly heat treated, whether it was soft or really hard. I don't know. I do know my own use case scenarios has been pretty good so far. American Blade Works does great Magnacut. TRM does a decent Magnacut. Spyderco does a decent Magnacut. Machine Wise does a good Magnacut. There's a lot of companies that do Magnacut justice, and there's just as many companies that do not. So it's tough. I get it. Matt D says, did we get to Magnacut on the stream yet? I think we might just skip that topic. You know, it was clickbait. It was clickbait. We didn't talk about it at all. And Matt D says, funny thing is, B Devious isn't even here tonight. He might catch the replay. I don't know. He asked me to touch on the topic. I'm a man of my word. Life happens. He wasn't able to make it to the live. That's totally fine. Let's see. How goes the vote? 86 votes now. 88% still say yes, they like Magnacut. There is no best steel. There's just the best steel in your opinion. And you as the general you. If it gets the job done, if you can sharpen it to a sharp edge and it cuts well, there you go. There you go. Do I prefer Magnacut over many steels? Yes. I would take Magnacut over S30V any day of the week. Any day of the week. Magnacut over S30V easily. I would take Magnacut over Crewwear. I would. Magnacut is a Crewwear killer. There's nothing that Crewwear does that Magnacut doesn't do just as good and not better. I said what I said. Cat Scratch says Aerosteel only wanted the assets of that business, including Crucible's patents and trademarks, and did not have any plans to buy and operate the mill itself. I could have swore I heard something that they bought the manufacturing capabilities. That's disappointing to hear, though. Hey, shout out to Night Rare for the $2 super. Says M390 20CV and 204P aren't identical. See Discord. Okay. Where? It's a big Discord out there. Where? Where? So is it in the Hangout and chat? Oh, okay. Here we go. We're gonna read this together. Hold on. It might not let me zoom in. So according to this, as described in this, impurities, phosphorus, primary elements we look at. See? All right, so I'm going to say right here in the middle, it says this person who wrote this article, and I don't really have the context of where this is from. I don't know where this is from. Is this from knifesteelnerds.com? I don't know. But it says here, I looked at the content of each of those elements in 3 identical steels. They are identical steels. Bowler M390, Crucible 20CV, and Carpenter 204P. So that statement right there is saying that they are identical steels. That's all I was saying. Here are the compositions of each steel provided by the manufacturer. Okay. So, chromium 20 for all 3. C, which component is C? I don't know, but all 3 of them are 1.9. Vanadium is 4 for all 3. And then W is 0.6 for all 3. The difference is silica. So silica is in Carpenter 204P is 0.6 versus the other 2, which is 0.7. The composition of these steels is identical. They're identical. They're just made by different companies. So silica being off by 0.1, silica is not something that is, or excuse me, that's, yeah, it's silica. Okay. No, these are identical. Okay, so it looks like they also measured phosphorus, sulfur, and oxygen. Bowler has 0.0165. Carpenter has 0.0149. Crucible has 0.0166. I'd be willing to bet that you ask anybody and any metallurgist is going to say that that's why they're considered identical, because while those are very minute differences, the average person would not be able to tell the difference. But thank you for sharing. I don't know where that article came from, but in my opinion, it still proves that they're all identical. And thank you again for the $2 super night. Shout out to Louis. What's up, man? He says, Rollshambo, so do you think that Chinese S90V is CPM S90V? All I know of the Chinese knives I have in S90V do not say CPM S90V like my Spydercos and benchmades do. Where's the knife that I have in S90V? Hold on. Hold on. I've got one here. That made me really curious. Let's see. Yeah, so this is a Devo Tallboy, and you're right, it just says S90V. This is OEM'd by Kubi. Let's see. Find another one. Yeah. So neither of my Devo knives say CPM S90V. I don't have any American-made knives in S90V right now. Nope, that's it. All right. I don't necessarily know if putting CPM in front of it is or not is their indicator saying that we just copied the composition. I don't know. I just don't know. But Monterey Bay Knives, I know that Monterey Bay Knives, they also don't list CPM in front of their S90V either. That's made in America. So for example, on the cane, let's see if I can find a shot of the steel marking. Do they have a shot of the steel marking? Come on. I like the way that Monterey Bay Knives lists it. Because they always put the steel marking right there on the sharpening choil. That's a photo that doesn't really say it, but I'm positive that on the MBK cane, which is American made, it just says S9DV. So I think that if you're going to hold it to that standard, you got to hold it to that standard across the board. Are we now going to say that, you know, Monterey Bay Knives doesn't get their S9DV from the States? I mean, they most definitely do, but that's my point. Is I wouldn't trust an engraving to be the deciding factor of whether or not it's actually Crucible S9DV. Is my point. Jim Miller says my Deca was okay at 17 degrees per side at 800 grit. Turned it into a laser beam. My American blade work came that way. Yeah. Yeah, ABW does a great job on their Magnacut. And they cryo treat their Magnacut. And so it's going to be coming in at the upper end of 63 to 65. Many of the ones that have been HRC tested that I've seen have come in at like 63.5 or 63.8. So I think that Mike Martin is probably hitting the lower end of that range pretty consistently. But cryo treated blade steel is great. Hey, shout out to TC Blades for the $5 super. He says, hey guys, just made it in time. D2 is still a hell of a good steel. Yeah, D2 is a great steel. You know, steels don't become bad just because we start using better steels, or we discover that older steels work really good for knife making. The difference maker for me is when we start adopting better steels that cost more money, we need to reduce the cost of those other steels that are not as good. Ingot based D2 does not need to be, you know, over $100 in general. CPM D2, powder metallurgy D2, powder D2 is really good. A lot of people will talk about Bob Dozier and his powder metallurgy G2, which is basically just crushed up, powderized regular D2 and then, you know, remelted into an ingot so it has better grain structure. But I digress. D2 is still a great steel. It's not very corrosion resistant. It is widely considered a semi-stainless, which means that it's not fully stainless. But you clean your knife, you clean your D2 knife with mineral oil, it'll be food safe. It'll be more corrosion resistant because it'll have that protective barrier and everything will be okay. Matt D says, I said no just because I'm indifferent and knew everyone was going to say yes. I like being a contrarian. I have no strong opinion on it one way or another. That's fair. It says Hogue does a nice heat treat. Yeah. Initially, when Hogue first came out with the Deca, their first batch release, they didn't do the hardest heat treat. They did 60 to 62, and then because of community whiplash, the community came out and said, no, we don't want Magnacut at 60 to 62 on our folding knives. After that first batch, Hogue went back to the drawing board and started doing a harder heat treat. And that's when they started coming up with 63 to 65 on the Rockwell for the Hogue Deca and Magnacut. So a lot of people, like myself included, I held off on buying a Hogue Deca and Magnacut because there's no guarantee that the one that you get is going to be the newer batch. Now, chances are, if you look at one online now, it'll probably be one of the harder heat-treated Magnacut versions than it was when they were first released, right? You have a higher chance of that being the likelihood because they've done many more batches than they used to, or than they did of the lower hardness version. But that's why I held off, because I didn't want to sit there like, well, you know, is this one going to perform better or worse? Which batch is this? I didn't want to play that game. All right. Lone Star says, not identical or perhaps just proprietary analogs like K110 to D2. The difference of silica in a knife steel composition is not much of a difference. Silica is a bit of a nothing factor, in fact. I happen to know that for a fact. The difference of 0.01 or whatever that one difference was, that one very light difference, it's not a difference maker. Even in the article that was quoted, they were quoted as identical. Hey, shout out to Splitting Slices. Thanks for being a channel member. Good to see you, man. Welcome into Caleb 1776. Thanks for being a channel member. Knight says, all nitpicking aside, the article from Laren is interesting to read. Oh, okay. So that is from Knife Steel Nerds. Right on. He says, interesting to read and the window of insight into the different production processes of the three steel companies. Yeah. But for all intents and purposes, like, their compositions are as identical as you're going to get. And that's what we're going to run into if we don't see Crucible open up their manufacturing again. You know, if Aerosteel doesn't have any intention of resurrecting the corpse of Crucible, you know, so that us knife enthusiasts can continue to get S90V and CPM 15V and so on and so forth. Don't be shocked if you see these knife steels made by other companies. But, you know, when rubber meets the road and you look at cut test data, which we already did, so I'm not going to do it again, but you look at the cut test data differences between 20CV and CTS 204P and M390, 99.9% of people are never going to tell the difference if their Spyderco is made of CTS 204P or if their Spyderco is made of M390. Same heat treat protocols. For all intents and purposes, the same steel composition. But this kind of harkens back to the point of someone earlier asking, M-cut, is it Chinese Magnacut or is it Crucible Magnacut? Right now, Niagara Specialty Metals, which does the hot rolling, they have a large stock of everything. So we're good for now. Plus, the steel that I think people should be concerned about is CPM 15V. I can't believe there are Spydercos in 15V that are still available for sale. I'm tempted to buy another one. I am because the opportunity, I don't know how many more runs Spyderco is going to be able to do with 15V. You know, we already didn't see a lot of knives made in that. So that's the one that I'm concerned about. And 15V is the Big Brown Bear 15V, one of the most impressive steels we have ever seen Spyderco touch, and that includes Rex 121. But that's for another episode. That's for another time. Caleb says, yes, I'm going to pretend on Tuesday. It's beautiful. I have no idea what we're talking about. Says, I waited and got the Smoky Mountain Knife Works Hogue Deca exclusively in gold marble carbon fiber and Magnacut. Ooh, subsequent batch drama for the win. You know what? Let's do this. Where's a good place to buy a Hogue Deca right now? Let's do SMKW. Hogue? No. Stop it. Stop it. Hogue Deca. I want to see if I can find that one. That's G10. G10. Gold marble carbon fiber. They must not list it anymore. That's a bummer. Magnacut. These are not expensive knives. I really should get one. I wanted to get one originally, but I did want to wait and make sure all the batch ones got thinned out first. Okay, let's do this. Exclusive Hogue Deca. Partner exclusives. Black Cerakote Ultim frame. That's crazy. G10. Where's the carbon fiber versions? Bah. I wouldn't be surprised if all the carbon fiber exclusives probably sold out stupidly quickly. Carbon fiber. Ah, here's one in 20 CV. Yeah, I like that. With the compound ground. It's not the Magnacut, but the 20 CV is still an amazing steel. $320 though. But it is American made, carbon fiber, sculpted handle scales, crossbar style lock. Yeah, I see it. I suppose. But hear me out though. Would I spend that much on this? I wouldn't. And the reason isn't because I don't think that it's not worth it in the stock format, but the reason is because you can actually get Hogue Deca aftermarket scales. So Hogue Deca aftermarket scales. Let's go. Original goat, of course. Yeah. I wouldn't go with aluminum. I'd definitely go with titanium. And where's the titanium? Other exotic materials. Do they only have them in aluminum? No way. Hogue Deca titanium scales. Nope, I'm not putting. Okay, let's see. Distortion for the Deca. Yeah, those look solid. Flytanium does do good work. $104 titanium. Okay. Rips Garage Tech. Okay, here we go. Titanium scale sets, American made for $150. Yeah. Why not? Yeah, so there's your titanium scales. $150. Instead of spending the $320, you could go ahead and get these for what? $130? Hogue Deca. On the low end, $130, $140 on sale. I've seen these go for, like, recently, one website had an error and they listed them at like $80 or $90. But $140, I think, is, of course, the baseline price for the polymer handle scale. So you get one of these, right? With the Magnacut, USA made, $134. Spend $150 on titanium scales, still American made. And you've got what? $270, $280 instead of spending the $320. You just got yourself a premium Hogue Deca, all American made, and saved yourself what, $50 in the process? That's what I love about modifying knives. Absolutely. Hey, shout out to Barbarian Brawny. What's good, Brawny? Says the Hogue Deca is slept on way too much. I've been meaning to buy one. But I know that the moment that I do, I'm also going to need to go ahead and get some scales. I really like the way this carbon fiber one looks, though. Green Tritium Insert Collector Series. This one is calling my name. I wish that it wasn't, but it is. I love that it's got a green tritium insert. It's a dumb reason to really like a knife, but I like the way that the carbon fiber looks with the sculpting there. The basket weave carbon fiber. Yeah. it's got a lot of pop. It does. It's been on my list for a while. For some reason, it just hasn't made its way to the top yet. Jim says titanium snob. I am. I like it. I like the way it feels. Okay. I also like carbon fiber though. Jim says I want a drop point Hogue Deca. Yeah, they both look good. So check this out. Let's see. They both look good. That's the Hogue Deca clip point. Where's the drop point? I swear I've seen it. Hogue Deca drop point. I guess they might just call it the clip point. Yeah, I think they just call the other one the clip point. It is a really good looking blade shape though. I'm a big fan of clip points. They did a great job on it. It is easily a benchmade bug out killer. Easily. I say that, of course, having never handled one. I just see $184 and I know that benchmade is more expensive. Anyways, guys. Lone Star says the two Hogue Decas in carbon fiber were the only available from Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Can't find it anywhere. Makes sense. Makes sense. All right, guys. We are going to kill the music. We're going to end the screen share. We are going to call it a night. We're going to call it a weekend. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on another successful Saturday live stream. Thank you to you guys. Join the Only Spartans Discord. Join the fun. The community is getting better every single day. There's a ton of really great people in there. Love conversing with everybody. If you don't want to, that's totally fine. We're giving everybody exactly what they want. People want more engagement, more flowing conversation. Now you can have it. People want their posts to not get buried when they post something for sale. You got it. People want pocket checks that they can check specifically in the live stream. You got it. We're going to continue to make that community better. It's going to continue to grow, and I hope that you are a part of that. If not, that's okay. The next live stream will be Wednesday at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is 10 p.m. Eastern, which is 9 p.m. Central, which is 7 p.m. Pacific. I hope you can make it. I understand if you can't. So for some of you guys, I will see you soon. And for everybody else, we'll see you later.